Hello and welcome back to Midweek Fixture Podcast. It is season 2, episode 2. I'm Louis Selling and I'm once again, of course, joined by Annabel Bassett. It was the transfer window, it's just finished. Deadline day was Monday, and I have to say, I think it was probably one of the craziest deadline days in a very, very long time. But let's sit back, let's relax now, and welcome back to Midweek Fixture. So, Annabel, how are you today?
I'm very well, thank you. Very much looking forward to discussing all the transfers. As you said, it was crazy, almost like career mode the last day. Lots of teams getting their transfers in late. So yeah, I'm looking forward to discussing some of the top 10.
Yeah, as Annabel just said, it's going to be the top 10 best deals, craziest stories from deadline day. Because some of the deals were a bit not that exciting, but when you put into the mix the whole story of them, especially one particular one that we're going to get onto about halfway through the video, it is incredible. But yeah, let's start at the top. We'll start with the obvious big deadline day. Not necessarily a crazy story because it's been going on for about 3 months. But that is Alexander Isak to Liverpool. British record transfer for £125 million. Yeah, what's your thoughts on that deal? And also how he acted, refused to train, refused to play.
I think it's an incredible deal for Liverpool. As we said, it's been going on for quite a while, but I wasn't sure if they would actually get it over the line. I think you and I were both like, well, what will happen? Because Newcastle seem to be quite stubborn on that £150 million valuation. But then again, they might lose him sort of next year. And I imagine with the amount of traction that Liverpool were like building around him, they really wanted him. They just said, fair enough. It's not good, as you said, to keep someone in who's basically refused to train. If he doesn't want to be there, I guess, sort of move him on. But there were even suggestions of him playing in the academy, so that's why there was a lot of uncertainty over whether the move would actually happen. But no, I think it's an incredible signing for Liverpool. A big loss, obviously, for Newcastle. His stats for them have been incredible. I think it was like 23 goals in 34 games last season. Only just missed out on the Golden Boot to Salah. So that just shows now he's with Salah, and alongside these sorts of players at Liverpool, I think he's just going to thrive. And I think for everyone, it's very scary, the proposition of Liverpool now that they've signed Alexander Isak, and did they even need him really? Ekitike started off to a flying start, but yeah, I think it's great for them. And as we've even been discussing, Ekitike can play elsewhere, so it doesn't necessarily mean Liverpool are going to be, having to leave him out. I think that's something to try and juggle for them. But in general, I don't think there's any drawbacks to this move. Obviously, a lot of money, but I think they've been wise in terms of not maybe spending so much over the last few windows, and now they've sort of gone big when they've got the appeal of winning the league last season. So yeah, it's super exciting for them.
Yeah, I mean, as you say, they've got money. They haven't spent that much across the last 2 or 3, even 4 windows, really. 125 million, broke the British record transfer twice in one window with Florian Wirtz as well. It's an interesting deal. I think he'll do very well. I don't think he'll go straight into the starting lineup after the international break because he hasn't played any football. He's obviously in the Sweden squad, so he'll get a bit of fitness, a bit of game time there. But yeah, I like the deal. I mean, he's going to be fantastic. A front three of Ekitike, Isak, and Salah with Florian Wirtz, McAllister, Gravenberg behind is just ridiculous. And as we said on a previous podcast, if they got the Isak deal done, on paper, this is probably one of the best squads in Premier League history.
Yeah, it's true. It's hard for me to say. Obviously, you can see the badge in the background, but I just think it's incredible. And I think as a neutral, someone who loves football, like yourself and I, obviously, we have our own teams that we support, but to just be able to watch this Liverpool team, I think it's going to be incredible. I mean, they've already given us the drama so far in their first few games, only just narrowly winning. But I think Isak could really be that difference maker for them now.
Yeah, I mean, I think the biggest story though with this Isak saga is yes, it's a British
Yeah.
record transfer fee,
Mm.
but the fact that he refused to train, refused to play, all the Newcastle fans' reaction to him. There was a banner on deadline day that Sky Sports News showed. It said, Isak is a rat, Visa is a Geordie. I mean, we'll get onto Visa in a minute,
Yeah.
but what do you think of the whole situation? We'll get onto Gahey as well in a bit.
Of course, yeah.
He behaved very well, didn't get his move. Visa and Isak refused to train, refused to play, and got their moves. Does this sort of set the tone for now? Players are going to just refuse to play, and they'll force their clubs into selling them.
Yeah, I think it honestly might be that way. Like we were saying, it's so hard to call because Isak, a lot of fans are saying, well, why did he sign the contract? But I'm like, well, did he know that he was going to get a move like Liverpool this early on? I don't really know. There is that argument there that don't sign the contract, don't go for those extra wages on that longer contract. And if you have an idea of wanting to leave, because then it makes it pretty much impossible. Whereas you said, more players are basically going to have to refuse to play and, cause up a stink. Because as you said, Gehi did the complete opposite, what everyone would like a player to do when they leave, and they didn't get the move. I think Eze is another example which is quite different, where he sort of carried on playing and he was very good, like Mark Gehi, and he actually got the move. So it just depends on the scenario, I think. But yeah, I wasn't best pleased with Isak. I think it's a real letdown for your teammates when they're starting to prepare for a new season. Obviously, they've now got Champions League football, and the guy who basically got them there, who helped them win their first trophy in 70 years, wasn't involved and didn't want to play. But I kind of do slightly sympathise, which obviously sounds a bit mad. But in terms of like, if he really wanted to go, he basically had to push, as we've seen. Mark Gehi didn't, and he didn't get the move. So I sort of understand why he did it. But of course, it's going to hurt Newcastle fans. It's the way in which you do it. I guess they always knew he'd move on to bigger and better things. As I said, his stats are incredible. But I think they would have liked him to have done it in a different way. But would the club have listened to him then? That's the point I'm trying to make. It's hard to get a striker who can fill his role. And even with Wisa, the questions are, can he do the same as what Isak's done? So it's a tough thing to talk about, really.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, I don't think anyone's gone about it the right way. No one's innocent. I mean, the stories come out this morning, last night, about Steve Parris not speaking to Gahey until an hour before the deadline because he was at a fitness class. That is crazy.
Yeah.
The fact that they didn't sell Gahey because Glasner refused, well, said he would go. Which, if I'm Gahey, I'm thinking they care more about Glasner than me. Glasner's been there for what, 2 seasons, 2.5? Gahey's been there for ages. He's their captain. He could have walked many years ago, and arguably he's too good for Palace. And that, I'm not saying that as a Brighton fan. I'm saying that as a general fan. He would, if he'd signed for Liverpool, he would have walked into Liverpool's back line. But yeah, we shall see how it all plays out across the next windows. Does he go for cheaper in January? Does he go on a free in the summer? We shall see. But next up, as we said, Visa to Newcastle, one of those transfer dominoes. Again, he's another that refused to play. £55 million. Brentford have absolutely played a blinder. £55 million for someone who's out of contract next year and is 29 years old. Newcastle, yes, he scored 20 odd goals, fantastic player, but £55 million, when you think of the context, I'm not sure.
No, I think it's a big price tag. I mean, a lot of like people are saying Newcastle have had such a poor window in terms of every player that they've tried to get has sort of walked in the opposite direction. So I think it's been tough for them, and they've had to basically spend that money on deadline day to get the move through to try and replace Isak. So yeah, it's tough, but I think it was always going to be, if you leave it till so late to get rid of your best striker, it's only going to leave you in a situation of desperation where, that sort of thing of beggars can't be choosers. And Newcastle are, not at all a beggar, really. They have the money to splash out. But as you say, it's kind of mad that they've spent so much money. And he does have good stats, though, as you said, like 19 goals last year, 4 assists. I mean, it's not bad, and I think he'll only do. But will he do better? That's the question. I think Newcastle's team should be a lot better than Brentford with the players they've lost. Obviously, they've got Alanga as well there now, Gordon, Barnes. I think it'd be nice to see them all link up. So again, it's a move as sort of a neutral that I'm looking forward to seeing. But yeah, it's a lot of money.
Yeah, I mean, Visa, I did an article quite a few months ago, middle of last season, start of last season, looking at stats. Who's the best striker in the Premier League according to the stats? Not just like goals and assists, but the pressing, the XG, all this expected stuff. And the stats come out very clearly that Visa is the best striker in the Premier League. So we shall see how that goes. I do think he'll do very, very well at Newcastle with Voltamade as well. I mean,
Yep.
football is back. We've got another Crouch and Defoe sort of partnership, 6'6" and 5 foot whatever Wisa is. It's going to be exciting to watch Newcastle this season. I mean, I'm not opposed to putting both of them in FPL. I like the idea of that big striker. He's very good on the ball as well. Baltimore can score the goals. Visha as well, in behind, can score goals, can create. I like the partnership, and I'm going to argue and say that them two is better than just Isak.
Nice. Yeah, I think so. Strength in numbers, like you said, as a duo. But my question is, will they play them both?
Yes, I think Visa plays up front, Voltamade plays just behind it.
yeah, then in that case, as you said, Isak is a great talent on his own. But if you've got two of them, yeah, I mean, it's a bit like what you saw at Brentford know with Mbeumo and Wissa in terms of that sort of link up. They thrived off of each other. So if we see that, Newcastle could have really turned around what has been, as you said, sort of a poor window in terms of trying to attract the players they wanted up until toward the end. But they've now got their two strikers. So it's exciting. I don't know where to predict them. I can't remember where we put them originally in the table either.
I don't think.
I think I put them like sixth. I think I
I
was
think I
being quite
put them
ambitious.
like eighth, ninth, something like that.
Yeah. But we'll have to see. I think
I mean,
great signing.
it's always hard to predict the table before the window closes because who could have predicted some of the stuff that's happened
Yeah.
or in the last few days, let alone just on deadline day. But yeah, Visa again refused to train, refused to play. As I said, we've discussed that. We don't really agree with it, but I get why he's done it. He released a statement as well as Isak, a bit different. Visa said that there was a written promise, which changes everything. If there's a written promise, then you kind of have to stick to it. If it's in writing, you don't have a choice.
No, I agree. I mean, he did, as you said, a similar thing to Isak, and then that banner outside the ground where they said Isak is a rat, but then, Visa is a Geordie. I'm like, how does that work? Like me and you were saying before, if they both decided to not train, they've sort of thrown up a fuss, then they're doing a similar thing. But as we said, it almost seems to be be commonplace for players to have to do that now because they can't get out their contract. But yeah, I think it was interesting how he decided to do that. But as you said, if it was a written promise, then that's kind of going against something that was actually written down. It's not just something that's been said that people can easily go back on. I think that's quite a big statement for him to have released. But I don't really understand the point of these statements, though. I'm like, what are they doing to fans? I understand it's trying to push that move in the media and get like attention around it. But for the fans, they must be like, well, we can't do anything. We're helpless here and we want you to stay. So I don't know.
Well, I mean, if you listen to the Newcastle, they're trying to get a bad relationship with the fans because then the club really have no choice. Because all the Newcastle fans were singing Isak is a, I'm not going to say the word, but blah blah blah, some bleeping going on. But if the fans are hating the player, there is no way back, and they have to be sold.
That's clever. Yeah, I always wondered what statements were actually for because I'm like, who are they aiming that at? Because as you said, it's going to upset the fans. But that's kind of a smart move in terms of then they don't want him back. Like with Isak, as we said, there were rumours of him going to the academy because fans did not want to see him in that shirt for the first team. So yeah, it kind of makes sense. It's just a shame because like we don't condone it at all. Yet players who don't like make up a fuss tend to end up staying where they are and being unhappy. So it's
Yeah,
tough.
I mean, as you say, we don't condone it, but I understand it.
Yeah,
You
100%.
kind of have to do it. I was listening to
Yeah.
Charlie Austin on Sky Sports fan club the last couple of days. He's been fantastic because obviously he was a striker in the Premier League. He said he would have done exactly the same thing. You've
Mm,
got a short career. Football's a very, very short career, and this
yeah.
probably was Isak's one and only chance to get to the top and play at the top. So I understand it, but it's just frustrating that a player that good has had to go about it that way and ruin the reputation at Newcastle. He was
Mm,
a legend at Newcastle, and I
yeah.
think over time he probably will still be, but in the short term, he's enemy number one.
And he did kind of try to make amends. I mean, this will mean nothing to the Newcastle fans, but his post, at least he did thank them. Like people were saying, it's the least he can do, which I agree with. But at least he did try and say, like, you've always been supportive of me. And then always be thankful, because as we've said, these teams have made them who they are. And as you said, it's just unfortunate they kind of have to leave on a sour note. But hopefully Isak will be, well, he will be remembered, whether the fans want to remember him or not, because of everything that he's done for them. So, yeah, I mean, I look forward to seeing him in a Liverpool shirt. And I think a lot of, even like Newcastle fans, it'd be tough for them to see it, but I think they're really going to see that, as you said, that he has outgrown Newcastle and he's going to be incredible for Liverpool.
Yeah, I mean, as I said, I don't think Newcastle are going to be. Obviously, they've lost a world-class striker, arguably the best striker in the Premier League, but replacing with Wissa Voltemade, I'm excited to watch that. I think I'm more excited to watch that duo than I am Isak for Liverpool.
Wow. I don't well, the bias comes into it for me. I don't want to watch Liverpool, but I do think they've got so much talent. It'll be exciting. So I don't know which I prefer. I think I'd prefer to watch Newcastle. I'd hate watch Liverpool, but still appreciate just the sheer amount of talent they have. But both are going to be exciting.
Yeah, but moving on to the third story, one for a neutral that doesn't really understand, think, well, that's a bit boring. But as a Brighton fan, you have the insight on Brighton as well. Matt O'Reilly to Marseille on a straight loan was a very interesting deal. On the face of it, it looks a bit boring, but he didn't get a look in last season. Then he was key for Fabian Hersler in pre-season, and he started the first two Premier League games. He was then benched for the City game, didn't come on, and then was loaned to Marseille the next day. What do you think the thought behind Fabian Hurst's thoughts are on key in pre-season, starting the first 2 games, and then just loaning him out? Is he trying to show the board that he's not good enough and he wanted him gone, or is he giving him that opportunity to prove himself? And it didn't go very well, because obviously both of us will agree Jorginho Ruta is the better number 10, and Gruder proved against Oxford and City that he deserves a place in the starting line.
Yeah. Yeah, no, 100% agree with all your points there. Oh, apologies for the notification. I don't know where that's come from. But no, with O'Reilly, I don't know whether it was Hertzler trying to show that he's not a good player. I think he would never do that. Like you said, he was quite influential in pre-season, which I wasn't entirely aware on. But I think that warrants those 2 starts in those games against Fulham and Everton. But I guess he just didn't thrive. And I think another reason why they probably let him go on loan is because he has had attention from a lot of Italian clubs all summer. You had like Roma interested, Atalanta. So obviously now he's gone to Marseille. But yeah, I just think in general there were quite a few teams who wanted him, which, as we say, is interesting because he'd never really established himself as a regular starter with Brighton last season. And yeah, there's been mixed opinions on what role he wanted to play as well, which I thought was quite controversial. Since joining Marseille, he said that his preferred role is a 10. But then when all the rumours were going about, and I'm sure we'll come on to this, but even Napoli submitted a bid of £25.6 million, which was declined by Brighton due to the amount of interest I think that he had. But yeah, even during that time, he said he'd prefer the 8 role, and that's why he was sort of unhappy at Brighton. So I think the sort of reason they've let him go is because he was always potentially eyeing a move out. He wasn't necessarily entirely unhappy, not enough, to push like Isak and Vita, but I think he was considering moving away. But as I said, that talk about positions, I'm like, well, he's not really made his mind up there. He's almost happy to play whatever role this new team, Marseille, wants him to. And obviously, he's linking up with Roberto De Zerbi, who apparently a lot of the Brighton players only had good things to say about. So interesting that maybe helped him with his move. But yeah, I think Brighton just let him go because he didn't really make an impact in those first 2 games. Didn't obviously, as you say, start against City. I'm not sure if that's just because of his performance, especially as he didn't come on. Maybe it's to do with the whole rumours that maybe we weren't aware of until deadline day, and then it was such a quick move done to Marseille. But yeah, what do you think about it? Do you think he's going to thrive at Marseille? Do you think he'll come back to Brighton? Because obviously it's only a loan.
I mean, I think he'll do very, very well in Liga. It's a slightly slower place. It will suit his style. He's a good player. Don't get me wrong, he's a good player. But I spoke to some people, Dad as well, he said the same thing. Just doesn't excite me.
Mm-hmm.
He's good on the ball, but he doesn't do much with it. Look at Gruder. He got come on against City. He got the ball. It was shots from everywhere, running at the back line, and that's what you need in the Premier League. Yes, you can pass, but that's what City tried to do in the second half, and we just played with intensity and energy, and we come out on top. Yes, I think he'll do well in the French league. Do I think he comes back to Brighton? I mean, if Gruder continues how he is, if Georgie continues to grow, if when Kostelus gets in the team and he shows what he can do, he's not going to be in the number 10. You've got Facundo Buonanotte coming back potentially next season. See how he gets on at Chelsea. And then in the 8 role, you've got Jack Hinchelwood.
Is it Gomez or is he more defensive, would you say?
You've got Gomez as well, who started the number 10 over O'Reilly. That was really interesting. You've got Yasin Ayari, who I have to hold my hands up. I didn't really rate him last season. I think he's been fantastic so far this season. And at the end of last season, Jack and O'Reilly Jack and Ayari are definitely ahead of O'Reilly. Gomez is probably on a par, but when he gets more minutes, I think he will be ahead. O'Reilly's not going to play the 6, so I'm not disappointed that he's gone out on loan. I just think it's strange that he was so key in pre-season. We built around him in pre-season, basically, and then let him go on a straight loan like nothing's happened. But as for playing under De Zerbi, they've brought in another 2 midfielders as well as O'Reilly. So how many minutes will he get there? He's not going to play he might play for the 10 for them, but then it's weird because he said he doesn't want to play that role.
Exactly.
Which he's happy to, but it's not his preferred. And then the 8, they've signed 2 other 8s as well, plus whoever they've got in the squad as well. So we'll see how he gets on. I might be eating my words come the end of the season, but I'm pretty confident he won't be a Brighton player come next season. If he doesn't do well, he'll be sold on. If he does do well, he'll go to a big club.
Yeah, exactly. No, I 100% agree. Be interesting though. I think we'll have to keep an eye on Ligue 1 just to see how he does, and as you said, how much game time he gets.
Yeah, but moving on to the next story the deal is kind of boring, but I think this is the story of deadline day. Another deal involving Brighton. That is Igor Coelho to West Ham. Again, I said on the basis, if you don't know what happened, very, very boring. But Igor initially Brighton agreed a move on loan to rivals Crystal Palace, which would have been the Gahey replacement. Brighton's fifth choice centre-back being the Gahey replacement. Some Palace fans will disagree. I mean, I think it would have been weird if he is the Gahey replacement. But from all the talk and everything, it looks to be that way because Liverpool were happy to let Palace were happy to let Gahey go until the Igor move fell through. Igor thought he wasn't going to get too many minutes at Palace because they were trying to bring in other defenders, which they didn't do in the end. So maybe they weren't going to do that. And then he decided to go to West Ham. Crazy story. It made deadline day really, really exciting. He's now a Palace legend because they've managed to keep Gahey. He's also a West Ham legend from the Conference League final when he got spun by Jared Bowen in the last minute and they won the game. But yeah, for me, the most exciting deal of deadline day.
Yeah, no, for sure. I mean, it was crazy. I think we were so sold on the fact that he was going to end up at Palace, and then everything changes and he's at West Ham. I think you even told me he might have even been at Palace or something like that.
Yeah, he was at the training ground.
Going to get his medical, and then just off his sticks or up sticks, sorry, to West Ham. So it's an interesting one. I mean, as you said, I would be very shocked if he was actually the Gahey replacement, as it seemed, because he made a decent amount of appearances since 2023. It was 37 league appearances, but then this turn of this season, he's only played in that Carabao Cup fixture against Oxford, and he was obviously outshone by lots of players that you've already mentioned there. So no, I don't know. I just think it's an interesting move for West Ham. I mean, Graham Potter seems to be quite positive about him. I had some quotes down here that I wanted to ask you about because obviously you've watched Igor more and have sort of an understanding. But he just said he has strengths and qualities that Graham Potter believes will help them, that he's really excited to see him challenge. And the main thing is that he said he's an experienced defender with a good pedigree and knows the league well. I mean, it's true, he has played in the Prem, but I don't know what your thoughts are on how well he can actually do for West Ham.
Well, he has European experience, which is very key because West Ham have been pretty poor this season. Obviously, they beat Forest 3-0, and this is where it gets interesting. I was talking to a West Ham fan on TikTok. I said I think he'll do very well in Potter's back three on the left centre-back because he has that ball-carrying ability. He's quite quick. He likes bringing the ball out. Defensively, he's all right. Heading the ball, he's not the best. He's strong, though. He's physical. I think West Ham fans are hoping he's going to snap Kudus in half in game week 4. But a West Ham fan said to me they played a back 4 against Forest and they won 3-0 and they think they're going to stick with that. If that's the case, he's not going to start left back over Malik Diouf, and I don't think he's very good he's okay in a back 4, but he's much better in a back 3. So if they are playing a 4, I don't understand where he's going to fit in.
No, that is true. Plus, as you've said yourself, he's very inconsistent. Like, I don't know too much, but you've enlightened me on how he can be really good, but then when he's poor, he's really poor,
Yeah.
which is obviously not what you want. Because he did well against Oxford. I haven't seen him too much last season. He looked a bit shaky, and then very swiftly he wasn't played. But I think with the game against Oxford, he did look solid. But then again, you're talking about the opposition, and as you say, it's a one-off game. So I guess the main concern for West Ham is if he can actually keep those performances good. You don't want someone doing defensive errors. And as you say, it's probably more likely to happen in a back 4 than a back 3. But yeah, I don't know. And yeah, is it a loan or is it a full-on signing? I think it was a loan, isn't it?
Yeah, straight loan. But the key moment that I remember from Igor, I mean, he was passionate. I love that. But Leicester away, Brighton were 2-0 up.
Yeah.
Leicester equalised late, brought it back late on 2-1. Igor come on to solidify the win, see it out. He picked the ball up in defence. Instead of just clearing it, he dribbled out, ran into 3 Leicester players. They scored an equaliser in the last minute. Something like that at West Ham with the fans, you were going to get crucified.
Yeah, no, that is very true. I mean, I wasn't too aware on that game, but that sounds like an absolute nightmare. And as you said, dropping those points, he was kind of crucial in that. So yeah, I think that's a massive concern. As you said, like mixed opinions. The West Ham fan, as you said, saying they play a back 4 as well is a concern. So I don't know how excited they can be about this signing. I guess they've got to trust in Potter in the move and trust in Igor. As you said, he's quite passionate, but whether that translates to a good, consistent player is another question.
Yeah, I mean, the move itself is okay. It's a good move, but the story was the best thing with this move.
Yeah, it was chaos. Didn't know which London club he was going to end up at, if at all, in the end, But I think Brighton, like you've said yourself, kind of wanted him to leave, I guess. Or like there was a talk that if you have to offload some players, he was one on that list, and it finally got done because there was rumours of him going to Roma. Was it Roma?
Yeah,
Oh
loads
no.
who were interested.
Yeah.
Loads of teams were interested. Sunderland as well were interested.
Okay, so quite a few clubs, yeah.
Yeah, but I think we need
Mm.
to give credit to journalist Charlie Parker Turner. He broke the news. Everyone wasn't crediting him. He deserves the credit. It was a big, big story to break on deadline day. But yeah, credit to Charlie. But next up, arguably one of my favourite moves of deadline day because it come out of nowhere. He was a star. He was a big standout at the under-21 Euros for England. It's a load move with a 35 million. I think it's an obligation. It might be an option. I think it's an obligation depending on how many appearances he makes. I mean, he's taken the number 9 shirt. That is a bit strange in itself as a midfielder. And Aston Villa's number 9 shirt is a bit cursed. But Harvey Elliott to Aston Villa. What an interesting move.
Yeah, no, I'm so happy for him, to be honest. I absolutely loved watching the England under-21s. Again, you were the one who told me, like, watch it. And I just thought it was brilliant to see the talent, arguably more talent than the England squad right now, or at least the future looks bright. But no, he was fantastic. He was, I think, player of the tournament, 5 goals for England, and obviously they went on their way to win it. But yeah, I think it's a great move for him. And as I said, I'm glad to see him go because I was concerned he was actually going to get a move in the end away from Liverpool, where there's so much competition now to play. But yeah, props to Villa as well. I mean, I think it was RB Leipzig were quite involved in trying to sign him, and Elliott even, rebuffed offers from, I think it was West Ham and Fulham, or at least interest from those two clubs. So yeah, interesting that he's chose Villa, but I think they're an exciting outfit. Obviously, sign players like Gesand, and they've got, so many exciting talents like Tielemans, Rodgers. So I think it's going to be really exciting to see him play alongside those players. And yeah, for me, I just think he's going to try and build on that momentum, as we said, of that Euros this summer, or under-21s Euros, should I say. And yeah, I hope he really does well. Obviously, it's only a loan, but they do have a chance to buy him. And I think as well, Liverpool have like a buy-on clause as well. So at least they get money if he does go to another club. But I do think Liverpool, if he does excel, will obviously want him back potentially. So yeah, I think it's really exciting to see what he can do for them.
Yeah, I mean, I love the move. I think he's going to do very, very well. Obviously,
Yeah.
they brought Jadon Sancho as well, which is
Oh, yeah,
another
true.
exciting player for them. If you look at
Yeah.
how Rashford did last season, in the last 6 months of the season, if Sancho follows a similar path, I don't think it'll be long until Villa actually score a goal this season. They haven't scored yet. Only team to not score. But they've looked really poor, especially against Crystal Palace. They lost 3-0. They looked arguably the worst team I've watched this season. But that creative spark from Elliott, a bit of energy in there. Gesand as well when he gets going. I like it. I think Villa are going to do okay. My prediction, I think I had them in like ninth, 10th, because of European football. I mean, I'm probably going to look a bit stupid now considering the moves they've now made. But yeah, I think Elliott's going to do very, very well for Liverpool. And as you said, very happy he's made the move. He loved Liverpool, and it's a big thing for him to leave Liverpool. But yeah, I like it. I'm glad he's got a move.
Yeah, no, 100%. I mean, he's taken the right decision for his own career, and who knows where he'll end up. But I think the main thing is that he plays. So yeah, brilliant to see, and he's so versatile as well. So they'll definitely be able to get use out of him, and his work rate is brilliant. Looking forward to seeing him for Villa.
Yeah, I mean, I was slightly surprised that he rejected the Fulham offer. That's
Yeah.
where it
Yeah.
started, where he come from.
Do
I'm
you think maybe
surprised.
the concern was whether they were going to sign any other players? Because obviously they made literally all their signings on deadline day. Maybe the concern was, well, I imagine they would have told him as part of the project, we're looking to get these players. But I don't know if the concern was there. But yeah, he chose Villa. Yeah,
Maybe, but then I don't think they would have signed one of the wingers they signed on deadline day, which we might
that's
get
true.
onto in a minute. You'll have to wait and see
Yeah,
towards the end of the video.
yeah, yeah.
I don't think they would have signed one of them if Elliott had come in. But next up, a move again that sort of come out of nowhere.
Yeah.
Tottenham, Randall Kolo Muani on loan.
Yeah. I mean, I was shocked at this. When you told me, I was like, it took me a second to register who he was. And you mentioned how in the World Cup final he had a strike which was saved by Emi Martinez. So yeah, I think it's an interesting move from Juve. Obviously, he's on loan from. Is he on loan from PSG at Juventus? It was last season. Yeah, yeah, and 8 goals in 16 matches, so not bad from him. Obviously, he's getting older. I think he's 26 or 28, one of the two. But no, I'm looking forward to seeing him in the Premier League. As you said, I don't think we expected it at all. But obviously, Dominic Solanke's out injured for them, so they need a striker. And I'm looking forward to seeing how he plays. As I said, I can't remember too much of him, but he's played for the likes of PSG and Juventus. Obviously, got a good caliber, played in Europe, which is obviously what Tottenham have this season. So yeah, I'm looking forward to it, and I think he's a great addition alongside obviously Xavi Simons, who they've also sort of replaced that injury of Madison as well.
Yeah, I mean, you have to be half decent to get in the French squad, don't you?
Yeah,
But I
it's
think
true.
he suits Frank. He's fast. He can counter attack. He's strong as well. He's intense, physical. Suits the Premier League, I think. I
Hmm.
wouldn't be surprised to see him get 10, 15 at least,
Wow.
which is not a bad return for Tottenham. But if
No,
they
that's
want to finish in the top, you're looking at maybe these 20, 25 all comps if they want to do well this season. But I think he'll do all right. It was a surprise move, as I said. I don't think anyone expected. I mean, I wasn't too clued up on Tottenham going into deadline day. I didn't expect them to sign a striker, definitely one of this caliber.
yeah. No, it's a great replacement for Solanke. I don't know how. Well, I imagine he's out for the entire season then, so he won't have to necessarily compete. I'm not sure because if he is back, then how's
Not
that going to work?
if you want to compete,
You need
want to win
multiple.
trophies, you need more than just one good striker. You need to. They'll rotate. They've got Champions League football as well.
True, and competition is good, and they
Could
want
they
to.
win another trophy?
Yeah, I was going to say they want to win more silverware. I think they'll be aiming for Carabao Cup or something. Although even Champions League, I like to see Spurs in the Champions League. They're a good team. As a City fan, I know too well how good they are. So yeah, I think it's going to be interesting.
Yeah, I mean, we can't really read too much into this Bournemouth game because it's typical Tottenham after a City win.
Yep,
But
crazy.
they didn't really have any shots, so Mawani, hopefully, will get that out of their system.
Exactly. Yeah, they need it. They need consistency. So hopefully, you can bring that to them.
Exactly. But next up is a move that got announced yesterday morning. I'll talk a little bit, but I'm going to let you take the lead on this one. It
Okay.
is Donnarumma to Manchester City, arguably the best goalkeeper in the world for 26 million. Edison has gone. You can touch on that. But the main thing I'm concerned is really a penny for Trafford's thoughts. I thought he was fantastic against Brighton. I
Yeah.
think he's a very good young English goalkeeper. He's got the City #1 shirt. He's come in thinking, all right, I can maybe take Edison's place this season, definitely next season. And then you've casually just forgot to mention that you're going to sign the best goalkeeper in the world.
Yeah, I mean, I hope we did mention it to him, but then I imagine he wouldn't have moved because it was so close to him joining Newcastle, wasn't it? So it's almost like we swept in. We're like, "You're so good. You've obviously gone off to Burnley. We want you back." And it's like you can't really do that. So yeah, 100% a penny for his thoughts. I don't know how this is going off on a tangent, but I don't know how the media can do this. But I'd love them to ask him or Pep what the plan was. Did anyone mention it to him and how he's feeling now? I'm sure that'll never truly come out, but as you said, I really don't understand what's going through his head right now because he has done well so far. Obviously, he made a grave error against Spurs, which led to João Palhinha's goal. But I think we even saw that with Edison right back when he first joined City. You're going to make mistakes when you first join. It is a step up. You're playing for Burnley in the Premier League, but then it's a complete and the Championship. Then it's a complete difference to have to join Manchester City. And there is so much focus on a goalkeeper. Like it was just one wrong pass, and every eye's on you. So yeah, I think it's tough for him, but I imagine the only reason City may have gone for someone like Donnarumma is because Edison wanted to leave, and they also thought maybe he's not at the level he was. Like I've seen him sort of decline in his shot stopping abilities. His distribution is still unbelievable, and that's my biggest concern now that we've let him go and replaced him with Donnarumma. But yeah, I guess City just think he needs a bit more time. And apparently, there are still reports saying, even though we've got Donnarumma on, I think it's a 5-year deal with an option for a sixth, that we do want to make Trafford our #1. But I'm like, well, how does that work? So it's baffling at the moment, but obviously, clearly, he's going to be second fiddle to Donnarumma for the next season. So I do feel, yeah, sorry for him.
Yeah, I mean, as I said, Donnarumma is the best goalkeeper in the world. We saw him in the Champions League. His
Yeah.
shot stopping ability is incredible. His penalty saving ability is fantastic. His distribution is okay. But as I've
Mhm.
said many, many times to you, the most important thing for City with how open the defence is on
Yeah.
many occasions is having someone in goal that's going to save some very, very important goals.
Yeah, I think from that perspective, it's a good move. I mean, I've seen so many different sources. Like, I originally agree with you. I was like, he's a great goalkeeper, one of the best. But then there's an argument that you've got, goalkeepers like Courtois and Alisson, who are apparently the complete package, and Donnarumma isn't as good as them, which is interesting because he is the wealthiest goalkeeper in the game. But I was listening to a City fan who does a channel. He's quite big, called Nobbins, and he said he does not rate the move at all. And he's watched Donnarumma a lot. He said he hasn't just watched him in the odd Champions League match, which is what most people like myself do. He said he's watched him in League 1 and he's just said his shot stopping has slightly declined if you look at stats. But then the main thing as well he's watched him is he has a midfielder supposedly take his goal kicks, and I'm like that can't be real. But from what he said, it's true. Luis Enrique has been that concerned about his distribution that he's now got a midfielder to take his free kicks, which goal kicks, sorry. So that's a massive concern for me. I mean, we saw with Trafford's distribution that Tottenham decided to play quite aggressively and leave less men back. They basically allowed us to allow Haaland and players to not have anyone on him. Mickey van der Ven came up quite high, and you even had a player like Jed Spence who was like hugging Tijani Reinders. So literally coming into midfield because they knew there was no real threat from our goal kicks because supposedly Trafford's distribution obviously is not as good as Edison's. So I think that's going to be a real concern, is what Nobbins was saying, is now you've got someone like Donnarumma, who again, his distribution isn't great. We're going to see more teams do that where they press us and they allow men forward. And that's just a concern because we really do need that distribution. It's an outlet for us. It starts a lot of our attacks. I mean, Edison had, 7 assists in the Premier League, which not even some wingers like Savinho, for example, hasn't even had yet for City. So for a goalkeeper to do that across his time, I don't think we're going to see that with Donnarumma. I'm not sure though, but there is conflicting information that he is not as good as people think in all areas, as well as obviously his distribution apparently being quite catastrophic. And supposedly he also makes some errors, like he's not always reliable. Not just with his distribution, his shot stopping. Sometimes he's liable to errors, which of course is potentially a reason why we let Edison go, because he was starting to make rash decisions. I mean, he's always been rash, but sometimes he'd run out of his goal and he'd completely head the ball wrong and it would lead to something like that, or he'd take a player out. He's given quite a few penalties away like that. But yeah, I don't know. I honestly am so concerned in a way because I've heard so much different information. But the only thing is, Pep's made this decision for a reason. I think a lot of City fans have now just got to put their trust in him. There's a reason Pep would have brought him in. He would have known about, Donnarumma's distribution. He would have watched him just as much as Nobbins has. So yeah, I don't know what to make of it. But he's obviously a higher and better shot stopper than Edison. That's fact.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, don't get me started on Pep. We'll be here for a very, very long time.
Yeah. I mean, what do you think of the move? Because you've said he's probably the best goalkeeper in the world, but do you think it's a smart move? Because we've offloaded Edison, who I think has been brilliant for City.
I mean, I think it would have been a very smart move if you didn't have Trafford. I think having Trafford and Ortega as your 2 goalkeepers is not bad at all.
No.
I mean, I think Donnarumma's shot stopping is fantastic. I think he's got better, personally. I mean, I used to watch him think he had the first couple of seasons were very good. Then he was like, what is going on? And I think that last season, the season before as well, I think he did very, very well. So we'll have to see, can he adapt to the finishing in the Premier League is arguably slightly better. But we saw it in the Champions League. So if he can perform in the Champions League, then yeah, we shall see. Moving on, we'll stick in Manchester, another goalkeeper who could become better than Donnarumma, better than Edison, better than Trafford. That is Manchester United. Lemers from Antwerp, £17 million, young goalkeeper. I think this is a great move. I mean, yes, he's young, he's made a few errors, but his shot stopping looks good. He looks good in his reactions. Distribution's pretty good, and he can't be any worse than Onana.
No, 100%. I think they did need a goalkeeper change. Yeah, I think Lamens is a great sign-in, and he's young as well. They've chosen him over Emi Martinez, which obviously there's a lot of deliberation over that. Me and you both thought, who are they actually going to sign? Seemed that they were close with Martinez, and then they've now changed to Lamens. But I think he's one for the future. As you said, he's young, he's made a few errors, but just like Trafford with the Spurs game, we still play him against Brighton because they're always going to make those sorts of errors, and I think we sort of forget in hindsight how good a player is when they're elder, but we forget all the mistakes they made in the beginning when you're learning. So, no, I think it's a great move for them. Obviously not sure what's going to happen with Onana. The Turkish window's still open, so potentially he'll make a move away. But yeah, he made 30 appearances, Lemens did, for Antwerp, as you said, a Belgium team, and had 7 clean sheets. So interesting stat there. But in terms of how many shots he's saved, it's a really impressive figure. And yeah, he's just a great goalkeeper and, really really highly rated upcoming talent. So I think they've done really well there. And yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing what they do. Obviously, Antwerp had a really strong defensive record. I think they were one of the best defensive teams in Belgium. So obviously he was a massive help in that. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to seeing what he does. I don't know too much about him, but I'm obviously going to be watching United. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see him.
Yeah, I mean, I haven't watched him too much either. I think United and the fans have to expect mistakes, but have to embrace the mistakes as well. Because as you said, he's young, he's going to make them. But the only way to not make them in the long run is to make them initially. I mean, look at Anala. Anala just doesn't learn. But if you give him that environment to make mistakes, a bit like at Brighton. Look at Brighton. We allow our players to make mistakes and learn from them, and they become world class. So we'll see how he does. There's not too much more, I think, to touch on it because we haven't really watched him that much. But he can't be worse than Onana. That's kind of the main thing here.
Yeah, and I think it's a great point from you actually to pick up on about, as you said, the fans. Like these days, fans are so expectant and want things to work now, and there's so much concern because social media is now a big platform where people can say whatever they think about a player, and people throw their toys out the pram, and think, "Oh my god, he's not been good in 2 games." Like we were saying about Gyökeres, I was like, "Okay, he's looked slow so far, like a slow start," and then he scores 2 goals, and he looks like he's really building. So as you said, I think they've just got to give him time. United fans need to understand he is going to be better than Onana, and Onana's mistakes. So you've got to allow him the same room to do that. But yeah, no, I think that's a great point actually about how fans need to just wait and just see. Time is always important.
But even De Gea made mistakes at the
Yeah,
start of
he
his
did.
United career, and he's
Yeah,
arguably one of the best goalkeepers to ever play the game. So you just
exactly.
have
Yeah,
to let him settle in, give him time. He's going to have so much pressure on him.
yeah,
Just
that's
let him
true.
play his football and see what happens.
Yeah.
But another move, another crazy story. We're moving over to London now. That is Nicholas Jackson to Bayern Munich. Wow, there's a lot to unpack here. So originally the deal was agreed a loan with an option to buy. Then Liam Delap got an injury. He's out for 6 weeks. He's going to miss about 4 games, only 4 games. So Chelsea decided to recall him and Mark Guay from Sunderland. But Jackson said no way. And his agent put a statement out saying the plane doesn't go backwards. A deal was renegotiated eventually for a loan with a 17 million obligation to buy. I like the move. I'm surprised no other Premier League team coming in for him, like a Newcastle or a Villa. I mean, Villa are apparently interested so in Newcastle, but they didn't really make a concrete move. I think he'll do well at Bayern with Harry Kane, with Elise, and they have a really cool duo in there. A duo name, Michael Elise, Nicholas Jackson, Michael Jackson.
Oh my god, I didn't even realize that. Yeah, it's very true. You've literally said everything. I just echo what you say. I mean, I said about Villa and Newcastle in my notes just here that they really should have been in for him. Maybe. I think Paul Merson was quite sort of vocal on that in terms of why has no one else gone in for him. But I think it's a great move. Obviously, it is only a loan, so we'll see what happens. But as you said, there is an option to buy, and I think he's going to be really exciting to see. Be interesting to see him play alongside. Yeah, obviously Harry Kane. I don't know how that'll work. I imagine that again, you need that squad depth, and as you mentioned there's so many talents in there. Luis Diaz obviously joined from Liverpool, Michael Elise, Serge Gnabry. Yeah, it's good, and he's got great stats. Like that's another reason why people were like, "Well, why isn't he being invested in?" He's a talent for the future, and he had 10 goals in 30 appearances last season, which isn't bad. And even before that, 14 goals in 35. So I think it's exciting to see. And as you said, Liam Delap's not going to be out for too long, so I guess that's another reason why they've ended up letting him go in the end. But they did want to recall him, so yeah, he's a highly sought after player by those 2 clubs, but probably should have been more.
Yeah, I mean, he's never going to play for Chelsea again because it's an
Mm.
obligation, not an option. Bayern
Oh, okay, so that means they
have to buy him for 70 million at the end of his
to.
loan.
Okay, yeah. So he should
So
probably be with them for longer than
yeah,
just a season. Like he's going to be
yeah,
buying. Wow, that's going to be interesting to see. Bless him.
yeah.
Yeah,
I mean, it's a very good Harry Kane replacement. He gets to
yeah.
learn from Kane now, gets to adapt to the Bundesliga, and I think he'll do very, very well. But the final story of this window, one I think is very, very underrated, and people haven't really touched on this. It's not a player; it's a club. So before deadline day, the only move Fulham had made was bringing in Lecomte, a 34, 35-year-old goalkeeper, French goalkeeper, on a free. And then on deadline day, they signed Kevin for 40 million euros, which is about 34, 35 million pounds. Their record signing. They brought in Chuck Wasey, another attacker on loan from AC Milan. And they brought in Kusi Asare on loan from Bayern Munich. So 3 attackers on deadline day. I mean, I don't know how people haven't really touched on this that much because that is very impressive and moves they very much needed to make after their okay start to the season. Not the best, not the worst. They looked a bit dull.
Yeah, no, they did. I mean, they even played Brighton, didn't they? And they were lucky to sort of snatch that draw if Brighton had taken their chances. I didn't think Fulham were too much in the game until toward the end, maybe. But no, I think it's a really exciting move. Obviously, the others, as you said, were loan deals on the final day. But Kevin is, yeah, from Shakhtar Donetsk, 5-year deal, and he's a record transfer for them. So I think a lot of fans can be excited about what he can bring. He's obviously versatile. Apparently, he's got incredible pace. So, that's what you sort of want in a player in the Premier League. And yeah, he's kind of got interesting stats, but I guess he's still young. Like he scored 17 goals in 57 matches for the Ukrainian side, so I don't know how that sort of weighs up, but obviously it's more than just stats. They've looked at his player profile and thought we want to buy him, and as you said, very much necessary to bring some sort of flair to what looked like a sort of stale side. And yeah, I don't know too much about the other players either, that Chukwueze and the young Swedish forward in Kusi Asare. He's only 18. Plenty of life sort of in him, but obviously it's only a season loan. I think there's an option to buy for both, I believe. So
There's got
as I said, if they do well, then they can do that. But no, I'm looking forward to seeing them both, and yeah, I think it's very much needed, as we said.
Yeah, I mean, Chukwueze is a great player. You go back a few years on FIFA, everyone was looking at him, and not just on FIFA, clubs in real life as well, were looking at Chukwueze. Very exciting player. I hope that they're their two wingers this season because I think that would be really cool to watch. I mean, it's a shot in the dark on the young Bayern Munich striker, but we'll see how that goes.
It's true. Yeah, and they had a deal. The only sad thing for them, obviously, was Tyreek George, I think, was going to join them, but it collapsed in the final few hours. So that's a shame. Obviously, a Chelsea forward, they were going to spend 22 million, I think, but yeah, that fell through. So it would have been interesting to have seen him.
Yeah, I mean, I wonder if they were actually going to go through with that George deal because they apparently lined up a few deals, winger deals, and they fell through and they brought in these three. So maybe they were lining them up, see which ones they could get over the line. If they couldn't get their first options, then they have the backup options, which is not unusual to see on a deadline day. But
Yeah,
yeah, I mean,
it's
anything else
interesting.
you want to touch on?
No, I mean it's interesting with that Asare. Obviously, he's only 18, but 2 appearances only for Bayern Munich kind of makes sense to be loaned out for a place like Fulham, where he's hopefully going to get more game time. So yeah, just a bit of a wild card, really. But as I said, I think it's a great topic for us to pick to talk about Fulham because it is a great story for them to have actually got some transfers over the line and on deadline day. But not much else to add, no.
Lovely. Well, last question, final question for you. What is your, now the window is done, who
Yeah.
do you think is going to be signing off the window?
Oh, okay, put me on the spot. I mean, it's kind of boring to just say Isak, but I think Isak has been a great signing. I also like Ekatike. But I don't know. I think João Pedro's impressed me so far for Chelsea. Like genuinely, I think he's such a quality player. I know a lot of people have said Cherky, but as a City fan, I'm still not convinced on him. Obviously, he's got a thigh injury, so not ideal. We'll see how he can hit the ground running when he comes back from that. But I think there have been so many great ones, and I'd probably say those are some of my top ones. What about yourself?
Yeah, I mean, the Athletic put their rating up all 155 transfers. I actually really like the shout of Paulinho at Spurs. I think that's a very, very, very strong move for them. I have to give Seamas a shout out. I think he's going to be very good when he gets into the Brighton team. He looks like the sort of striker that Brighton need that's going to suit the Prem. Haven't seen a striker get the ball and run towards the goal since Evan Ferguson come in. Welbeck's been really off it, but I mean, I've watched him quite a lot last season. I love his profile. 6'6", and he moves like Messi. I have to go Nick Vulsamade. I think,
Yes, that's
and
true.
the story as well. He was a free agent last summer. Stuttgart signed him for free, and now they've sold him for 70, 75 million pounds. And if he thrives in the Prem, even better story. But I think he'll get 20, 25, maybe even 30 goals this season, and a
Wow,
lot
that's
of assists as
cool.
well. I
Yeah,
think he'll do quite a few
I don't
assists as
know. Yeah, that's a shout. I would probably say like 15, pushed for 15 goals. That's just me. But I can't wait to see if that does happen. He is a great talent. I loved watching him when he played for Germany in the Euros, under 21's Euros. So yeah, it's going to be good to see.
But yeah, I mean, next up, I think Nelson Viper will get a Premier League move very, very soon. He was very good in the under 21s Euros. I saw Wolves were linked. I would have liked to see that. But yeah, maybe that's the video we'll be covering in a few months in January or in a year's time next summer. But that is it. Thanks for watching. Let me know in the comments what's your favourite story from deadline day. Did we miss any big ones? I don't think we did, but maybe we did. Who's your club's favourite signing and everything like that. But yeah, as I said, thanks for watching. I'll see you very, very soon for another video. I'm hoping to get tickets for Brighton's Caribou Cup fixture away at Barnsley, so there'll be definitely a vlog for that after the Oxford one. That was fantastic. The Everton vlog, thank you so much. That did about 4.5k views. Unbelievable. TikToks as well, doing amazing. Had another TikTok, did one on Igor Zapales, that did about 25k. Thanks for all the support. I'll leave the links below, and I'll see you soon for another video. Thanks for coming on, Annabel. And
No
yeah,
worries.
say the
Cool.
outro by now. Do it with me. Adios.